Hello everyone, this is Dhat here. Recently I completed my first project on Hyperskill website on hyperskill.org. It's a JetBrains platform under the Java Developer Study Plan. The project was a working TicTacToe interface where the computer asks the two users to input coordinates in a 3 by 3 grid and play until one of them wins or it becomes a draw. So I'll start right away. This was as you can see, the current project was TicTacToe. I've completed it. We'll start right away. This was the code that I've done, and it shows the output was correct and has passed all the test cases. It's a pretty simple code and easy to understand, but I'll start from scratch. So here we go. We create a new project. We name the project next and next. We name the project game and code. Finish. Okay. Game and code in Java and in C. I'll right click new. I'll create a package for a particular game, and the game here is TicTacToe. So TicTacToe. Okay, we start now. Under the TicTacToe we will go and create a Java class. Let's simplicity purposes name it as a main class. So now we start away with the TicTacToe code, and at first we have to start with the main method, of course. Public static void main string args. Okay, and I'm going to start a while loop here, which will always execute because it has true inside of it, and I'm going to create just some variables. The use of this variables will be seen later. So for each of the cells of the 3 by 3 TicTacToe grid, I'm going to declare an index, and that index will be blank first, empty, and then I'll create a variable character. This variable can be what the two users input, so in this case X or O in a TicTacToe. So I'll just initialize it with X, and yeah, that's it. That's fine. And now I will create a scanner input class object system.n. As you can see, this requires us to import the library. Start to upload the whole one. You never know which one is required, so I'll put the whole one. Okay, so after this, we will start right away with the interface of Java. I'm just going to show you here what kind of interface it was. As you can see, this was the interface. So you enter the coordinates 1 1, so it was 0 1 3 3, so whatever, and each and every coordinate, it's a simple TicTacToe interface. So system.out.print, and then there are 9 hyphens. Then I will initialize a myGrid array, character array named myGrid. In this case, the grid is the 3 by 3, the grid for the TicTacToe. Okay, so since it will be a 3 by 3, so I need to have 3 such, and then after this is created, next line we need this. Just start a for loop here. For loop, and we have to iterate each every row, every column. So I and J will be inside will be the inner loop. For I will be the outer loop here. So I less than 3, because since you're starting from 0, it should iterate 3 times: 0, 1 and 2 is 3. So I plus plus j equals to 0, j less than 3, j plus plus. Okay, so we're going to output what? What are we going to output here? We're going to output print each and every character of my grid. So this will be the format, and there will be a space after each, so it's neat and tidy, our TicTacToe, and not at once. And after this, you also need to be reminded that if it's not, suppose I is not 2, it will print in a new line. So instead of print ln, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mention this. So what it does is I'll show you 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so this is how it will show, right? This is x, suppose this is O, this is x, and then it should, and then again, so yeah, so each and every straight line that comes in a new line. So you have to make sure if it's not equal to 2, which is the last one, we have to end it, it will always print in a new line here. So a new line, we do it here, new line, and else what you need to do is system.out.println, or just basically print here. As I said, no need to print ln because we don't know where to start with the cursor next, so I'm going to just end it. And that's it, and that's fine. Else loop ends here, the outer for loop ends as well, just like the outer for loop ends for each row column. We have the 3x3 grid ready, and we have to print the end here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is it. And then we start another while loop immediately, true, which will always execute. Now we'll ask the users to enter their coordinates of the variable, whether they have taken x or o. Okay, so I'm going to define rows and columns here. This is a very important part of our code. This will define each and everything, each and every cell, each and every row, each and every column, where to input, where we don't have to, and stuff. Okay, so index row, index column, and row and column, so that we have easier to use to iterate over the loops. So that's why I've created 4 variables here, 2 of each kind. Then a boolean valid input, and while this is true, again, just namesake, because each and every true loop. So in this block we'll try and catch an exception. This is error handling. Sorry, this is exception handling. So we are trying to handle exceptions here. Of course, we'll try to get in the form of coordinates. We'll try and get the row and the columns, and like the row and the column coordinates, which will point out to the cell in the 3x3 grid, and that's why there will be integer next in this case scanner. It will scan for the values. And once it has scanned for the values, we will turn valid input to true, because it has already done that, scan the values. Then we'll catch the exception. In this case, it's an input mismatch exception, and we'll define it E for exception, and we will print out println new line, you should enter numbers. Yeah, you should enter numbers. It should be pretty obvious. You can't enter letters or special characters instead of your coordinates for row and column, so you should enter numbers. And after it gives this warning, it should print back, it should print enter the coordinates. Of course, it will ask the user to enter proper coordinates this time. So this is how the try and catch works. And then again it will scan for the next line, and the next line has similarly input the next end, for row and column. This is it. And after the catch flow ends, we'll start with logic part. This is very important, in fact the most important part of our code. So suppose a user enters row 1 and column 1. What would that mean in the 3x3 grid? How can we make our computer understand what it is? Basically, it would mean for a 2D array, the index row is 0 and the index column is 0 as well. This should be very fairly simple. You can draw and do this to help you understand better. Up next is another scenario where it's row 1 and column number 2 that the user enters, and you can see index row will be 0 yet again because it's the same row but the column has changed by 1, so it will increase by 1 now. So it's basically always -1, row is 1, so 1 minus 1 is 0, column is 2, 2 minus 1 is 1, so always a difference of 1. Similarly, we are going to do for column number 3. Here the index row will be 0 yet again, index column will be 2 yet again. So I'm not just going to copy the code this time, and 3 scenarios, there are 9 scenarios of course. 3 to the 6, 3 to the 9 for 9 cells each, and I'm going to just update each and every statement. So this time row will be 2, column will be 1. In this case it will be 1 and this will be 0. Here this will be row 2, column 2, this will be 1, column will be 1, row 2, column 3, row will be 1, column will be 2. Again this time this will be row 3, column 1, 2, yeah, so row 3 column 1 will be index row 2 column 0 of course, and then row 3 column 2 will be in this case index row 2 column 1 surely, yeah, index column 2, and this time row 3 index row 2. So you can see here each and every scenario. I'm just going to double cross check if it's correct. 0 0 0 1 0 2 and 1 0 1 1 1 2 2 0 2 1 and 2 2. Yeah, it's perfect. 9 scenarios for each of the cells of 3x3 grid. Okay, so the next logic part is important here. If the my grid, suppose the index row, index row, index column, if for any one of them it is not occupied, it's not empty, which should mean not empty. I will create a new statement here. It will print out that the cell is occupied and we have to choose another cell. Note that this is a very important part of the logic. As for each index row and index column, if it is not empty, the index, it should print the cell is occupied. I have to choose another one, else it will keep updating the same one and override what the previous user has entered. Then we will continue this loop if it's not so, and then they will move on with another important logic. If row is greater than 3, as that can be possible in a 3x3 grid, or it's greater than 3 column as well, we will print that should be from 1 to 3.
Black.
Green. Okay, so this was the main logic part. I'm going to just segregate in space. Okay, so we're done with the logic mostly. Now we will print the updated grid here. So we'll start yet again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 hyphens. System.out.print. Start right away. It's the same case for each and every cell that we iterate. Less than 3, I plus plus. Well, this is important, as for each and every index for the row and column in my grid, index row, index column. If it's empty, what should you do? If it's empty, it would mean you can put in your variable here. Of course, it would mean that. But thing is very important for getting an important logic here. So it's obviously, if it's empty, it will ask for an input, and the input should be a variable. What is variable here? We have defined variable as character, and we have initiated it with x. Okay, so that's what it can take, nothing other than that. But we're also forgetting that if the variable is x, if the last variable that the user entered has been x, and if the next user also inputs x, that would mean cheating basically, or mistake on both of the user's parts. So it should always check for this and immediately update of its own accord. If it's x, the next one should not be x, it should be the second user's turn instead of the first. The first user has been x, the second user has o, so this should equate to o automatically. And it's not the case, so it's simple, variable should be x in that case. Okay, so we're done with this, and for each and every iteration here, I think we are done with this as well. We're done with the else loop and the if loop. We are now inside the inner loop for j. Yet another logic part. So now I'm going to create some when scenarios, when and raw. So we'll start with this, where I isn't fixed but j is fixed as 0. Suppose it is empty. Then if suppose we take I as 0 here, and 0 0 is not empty, so it's not empty, then, and if 0 0 is equal to 0 1 and 1 I was just taking a scenario here is I equals to 1, 1 1 is equals to my grid for I What would that mean? That would basically mean, and we are increasing. That would basically mean there's a when case in case of the variable. I'm not going to create for each and for both of the variables, as that would mean a huge number of if else statements, and we'd create a generalized one. This is a generalized one, where column 0, column 1, and column 2 for a particular row is contains the same variables, and that's a when. So I'm not going to write exactly what the when is. I'm going to do that later, and that'll be easier. I'll show you how. I'm going to increase. I declare the count one variable as 1. Thing is, if this happens 3 times, of course, if it happens 3 times, the index here should be what contained in I0 or I1 or I2. Just for example purposes, I'm taking it as I0 because it's the same, 3 of them. Alright, so we're done here, and we're done with this if loop as well, and we're done with this. Similarly, I'm going to just copy here, and as you can see, this is for a particular row with varying columns. I'm going to create for a particular column with varying rows. As simple as that. So this will have 2 scenarios. Okay, so instead of this, I mean we're going to go with 0 and 0, and for I. Yeah, for I, not J, because it already has the inner loop. Okay, so that should suffice at this point, I suppose. So 0 I, 1 I, and 1i is equals to 2i. Okay, so this will be for count 2, and if count 2 equals to 3, my grid should be equals to 0 comma I. Okay, so we're done with this as well, and next will be this will be, and this loop will end surely, and this if loop ends, so does the next if loop, and so does so does the next if loop, and I'm going to print after this my grid. Okay, after we're done with this, I'm going to just make use of the same logic. If it's not so, I'm going to print this in a new line, backslash n. Yeah, this was it. Else we can always do that for each 0, 1, or 2. It's not equal to 2, it does this, and when it reaches 2, it should yeah, this is it. Suppose else loop ends here. So does our for loop. This is important, as you can see here, which loop is which. And this, as you can see, it shows the for loop here. Okay, so we're going to make sure that's the place we want to end, and yes, I guess that's where we want to end for each and every iteration. We're done with this I and J. We're done with the J loop, the inner loop. Here we'll show my grid. Now we have to take diagonal cases because the diagonals they win as well. Zero two. If it's not equal to, it's not if it's not empty, and this is equal to 1, 1. Obviously, I'm talking about the like this diagonal, not the leading diagonal, opposite to the leading diagonal. It starts from row to 0, column 2. If it's equal to this, and my grid, if it's equal to yeah, so a row 2, column 0, of course, that should be row 2, column 0, opposite of the leading diagonal. What should do that do? System dot out dot print ln. It should print, yeah, it should print ln. No, it should print ln. Print ln my grid, the value of 0 2, and else if my grid, if it does for 0 and 0, so this is case of leading diagonal, I'm going to do with same my grid 0 0 equals to my grid 1 1 and my grid 1 1 and yeah, it's my grid equals to, and then my grid equals 1 1 equals to my grid 2 2. No, 2 2, yeah, I guess 2 2, yeah, correct. So 0 0 1 1 2 2 is the leading diagonal. It's not equal, it's not empty, and it's equal to 1 1 and 1 equals to 2 2. Then it should system dot out dot println my grade, whatever this there in 0 0, it should win. Okay, and we're forgetting an important part here, and just as this happens, we have to make sure that the draw condition is not taken into place, so we need to immediately exit whatever loop it's in. Okay, and we can see here java.lang.systems, enter, check, we should import, yeah, so automatically it imports the library, imports static java lang system.exit. Okay, we're done with this. Similarly, we have to exit status here to the 0, and we're done. Okay, and yet another case, if the index equals to x, or index equals to O here, it should 2. It should print that the index wins. Remember what was index was? As I said, it was another part of our logic. Wait, let me show you where that was. Yeah, this. So index. No, not this. Index. Index is one of those cases where it's horizontal or vertical. As simple as that. Okay, so this and this index. Okay, we're done with this. We're almost done with our code. We are 85% done with our code. Okay, so once the else if loop ends, we are going to count 1 should be 0, count 2 will be 0, because that's the end of the scenario. And I'm going to declare another count variable here, integer count 3. This will be for draw cases. Similarly, again, I'm going to start looping. If the migrate ij is not equal to empty, if it's not empty, and there's been scenarios everywhere, if any of the cells are not empty, that would mean draw, right? So we're going to update with 1, and that would mean draw. Yes, it's a draw. So this loop for each loop ends, for loop ends, out for loop ends as well. And if this happens for each of the scenarios, okay, so for each of the cells, so this happens what, 9 times? Yeah, 9 times. So 9 of the cells are occupied. That would mean a draw, right? If no one wins, it's a draw. So I'm gonna update this to 9. If equals to 9, what should it do? Wait, I'll just use this in yeah, if it's 9, what should it do? Is to print draw. Then we will exit. As simple as that. Once you're done with draw, we don't want it to execute anything else till that. So the if loop ends here, and the out integer I loop will also end here. So does this and this. Well, I'm not pretty sure if I loop should end here, but whatever. I think this was still this, and whatever. So I'm just going to this is ended here. Yeah, this is it. That's it. I should run this now. It's trying to build. It's trying to compile. It's trying to run, and as you can see, there's a small mistake somewhere, and this should be in a new line. So yeah, new line, and this no, not this should be in a new line, but not this. It's trying to run again. Yeah, so this was the problem here, as I did not give the println here. Okay, so after running the code, I'm going to put the coordinates here, and suppose I'm the user 1, and I'll put coordinates 3 and 1, which would mean row 3 column 1, and there we go. We see x is being put in row 3 column 1. Now suppose pretending I'm the user number 2, and I'll put I'll put it in row 1 column 3. We can see it's been put there, and I want to continue with x to win, so I'll put it in row 2 column 1, and O tries to stop me from winning, second user, so it will put in row 1 column 1. There we go, and now we can see that O has prevented me from winning, and that is how we proceed with the tic-tac-toe. So basically we have entered the coordinates until one of us wins, one of the two users win, or it's a draw, and now O will try to win it. Now I will try to prevent O from winning, so I will give row 1 column 2. So there we go, and now O will try to do it diagonally. Suppose O tries to give vector 2 2, and I will try to prevent O from winning, and I'll put 3 3. Now O can put it in row 3 column 2 to prevent me from winning, but let's suppose x tries to win, x wants to win, so we make x win by putting O in row 2 column 3. There we go. And now it's the last option to fill it, and row 3 column 2, and we have done it. We have got 3 x's in a row and x wins. So this is how it works. It's a completely workable code with all the solutions, draw stuff, draw, win on both sides, or even if a cell is occupied, I have already told you to, like, it will automatically try to catch the exception if there's such an exception, and a try and catch block is also there. And we should enter numbers only. And there are scenarios like if user enters more than 3, then it should output coordinates should be from 1 to 3. And if it's not empty, then it should say the cell is occupied and you have to choose another one, because otherwise it will update itself with the value. So completely workable tic-tac-toe. And you can also see this code in the given in the description below. I have attached a GitHub link in the description below, and click it and see how the code works. It's a very easy to understand code and compact one, completely workable too, and hardly 150 lines of code, exactly 151. So thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a bit long, yeah, but when you try to code it in silence, so it will take much lesser time, in around 20 minutes. So again, thank you everyone for sitting for such long time and going through it, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.